Y'all, we got this week and next week we're going to be wrapping up Rise and Fall between the two different series. It's going to 43 weeks in First and Second Samuel. The state pastor of West Virginia for the Church of God, who I work with, I was telling him about it this past week. He goes, "Scott, I've never heard of a sermon series that long ever." And I said, "Well, here's the crazy thing. Since we've done this, the church is up about 130 people a weekend." So I think that there's something to systematically preaching the Bible in a way that people can grab a hold of it instead of the Bible Olympics of jumping all over the place. I hope that it's helping you. And so we shared last week about all this excitement with the church growing and all this stuff. And I was thinking this week, just let me, listen, I get it. I'm a little bit crazy in the way that I think and such every once in a while. So not every thought that I have is always rational. But in the midst of all the growth and the excitement, can I tell you a little bit, peek behind the curtain? There's also a lot of fear on this side. A lot of fear, like every single Sunday, I'll just be honest, I'm still shocked that people are showing up. Like every Sunday, I'm like, oh, here they are again. Like it's just, it's still, because I've seen like the church grow a little bit, and then I watch us kind of go back. And so every week I'm just going, is this the last one? Is this the last one before we go back to how it was? Because I mean, it is so exciting. It creates challenges, especially those of you here at the second service. Like if you were at second service last week, like there wasn't hardly any place to sit. The parking was bad. In fact, if you are a second service person, if you could sacrifice and come to 9 a.m., it would help this church be able to grow to the next level that we need. So if you're a second service person and you could possibly do that for us, that would help us tremendously. But in addition to like space issues, can I tell you another fear that I have? And I always have had this in ministry because it's something that actually happened to Jesus. And no, I don't think that you all are going to kill me. At least I hope not. Ministry might. I don't think it'll be at your all's hands though. No, there's something that happened to Jesus that is always kind of like in the back of my mind, especially when ministry is going really good, because there was a time in Jesus' ministry where everything was going really good. He was feeding people, he was casting out demons, he was healing people, all this crazy stuff. And as he did that, as he was meeting the needs of the people, the crowd grew and grew and grew and grew and grew. And then there was one day that he preaches this sermon. It was a really challenging sermon. And it really meant from that point on, to be a follower of Jesus was probably going to cost you something, because it was kind of a line in the sand moment. And the scriptures tell us in John chapter 6, when Jesus kind of raised the bar beyond like, hey, here's a free meal, here's something I'm doing for you. When he kind of raised the bar, you know what John 6 tells us happened? People begin to leave. People begin to leave. Because when the challenge got too high, they go, oh, wait a second. I was just here for the free meal. I was just here for the blessing. Right, like we talked about last week, like there are some people that like, they're way more concerned with the blessings of God than they are with God himself. Like here for what I can get out of it. And honestly, like we see a lot of this in the modern church. The modern church is like, it's all about me, right? It's all about me. Meet my needs, take care of me, sing the songs that I like, preach the sermons that I like, run the programs that I like. And at the moment, and again, I'm about to start my 15th year of ministry. So I say this with authority. At the moment that people perceive that you are not meeting their needs, they will leave. They will leave. But the truth of the matter is, God does not exist for you. Did you know that? Christianity is not about how you maneuver a system to get God to do something for you. Christianity is you serving God. You exist for God, not the other way around. It did not start with you, right? It starts with him. And so my fear is, because what happens is sometimes churches will grow and grow and grow, and then people in leadership will get really nervous. They'll go, hey, don't say some of that stuff that you used to say. Okay, because we don't want to run people off. And I'm going to that's not going to happen here. right? Sermons like this are sometimes what we like to call space makers. Just keep it real, right? Because Christianity is not all about you. Church is not meant to make you comfortable. It's meant to be a sacrifice. And today, as we jump back in to 2 Samuel, we're going to look at these three guys who were David's elite fighting force. They were the three guys that were just above everybody else. And they were committed to David. Even though at this point, David wasn't the king of Israel, because again, we're in the epilogue, so they're like hopping all around David's life. This is pre-David being the king, but he had already been anointed. So to these men, David is their king. They're just waiting for it to happen, but as far as they're concerned, we're going to serve David like he's our king. And I think in this little story, a couple verses in 2 Samuel 23, we're going to see a picture of what it really looks like when faith in following Jesus is not about you. Here's what it says, 2 Samuel 23, beginning in verse 13. Once during the harvest, when David was at the cave of Adullam, the Philistine army was camped in the valley of Rephaim. The three who were among the 30, an elite group among David's fighting men. So David had 30 really top-notch guys. He had three people outside of that. They called that his mighty men was the 30, and then the three were just referred to as the three. They went down to meet him there at the cave. David was staying in the stronghold at that time, and a Philistine detachment had occupied the town of Bethlehem. So here's what we see. David is in the cave of Adullam, and the Philistines are everywhere. They are camped in the valley of Rephaim, outside of Jerusalem. They are camped. They have a whole garrison of people just hanging out in Bethlehem, David's hometown, probably just to make sure that David doesn't come home at some point. So they're trying to provoke him out by occupying his hometown. And we hear that these three devoted servants of David were not with him in the cave, but wanted to go to where he was at. And now just get the picture. To do this, for these three to get where their king was, it meant that they might have to face the enemy and might have to put themselves on the line to get there. And so my first question for you this morning is this: what are you sacrificing to be with the king? Right? When church is nothing more than optional whenever we're in town and don't have anything better to do, and small group discipleship is optional, like, that's crazy. We're not going to come out another night of the week, and then prayer and Bible study on your own is almost non-existent. The question really should hold some weight. What are you sacrificing to be with the king? Can I be honest? I couldn't say this to the 9 a.m., but I can say it to you. Some of y'all, just being asked to move from 11 a.m. to 9 a.m., you're like, I don't know. You mean like give up my seat for someone else? What? Yeah, like even asking someone to switch service times. And yet, I want to ask you, what are you sacrificing to pursue the king? What does it actually cost you? Because too many people, they want comfortable, easy Christianity. And the truth is, there's no such thing. There's no such thing. And so these men, they risked their lives to get to where their king was. Right? Like, did you know there's people in third world countries that walk miles and miles and miles to get to their church, to sit in rooms that are not air conditioned, on seats that are not cushioned? And we can't switch service times. No, you don't know us, you know. What are we sacrificing? Because here's what's at stake. Let me tell you, there's actually something at stake. When you don't make being with Jesus a priority, when it's all about you, and you're like, you come to me on my terms, when it's all about you, there is something at stake. Here's what we read in verse 15. That David remarked longingly to his men, "Oh, how I would love some of that good water from the well by the gate in Bethlehem." Here's what's at stake. Because here's what happens. When you will sacrifice to be with the king and be with the king consistently, acknowledge him, talk to him, here's what happens. When you make being with the king a priority, you find out what his heart is all about. You find out what's on his heart. You find out his priorities. You find out his desires. Instead of just living your life with a little bit of Jesus sprinkled in, if you made him a priority, you would know how his heart beats. And you would be able to serve him in different ways, and it wouldn't just be an hour of your weekend, but it would be a lifestyle of following and serving the king. If you made a priority of being with him, you would find out what he's all about. See, David, he's off in this cave. It's harvest time, so that's a hot season. And he's reminiscing. Anybody ever just reminisced about, like a lot of us, we're getting ready to, maybe you're going home for Thanksgiving and you're just thinking about mom's stuffing or turkey or whatever it is. Like you have your favorite dish. David's going, oh, I remember on a hot day there in Bethlehem. We'd be out playing, but there was this well right by the gate. And they had that good water. You know what I'm saying? Anybody have that good water at your house? I don't know what it is. When we move from one place to another, the water that comes out of my fridge, it's different. Okay? It's different. Actually, when people come over to my house, I'm like, let me show you this. Right? Like, you got to have some of this water. It's that good water. Right? It is. And David is just longing. He goes, man, what I wouldn't give to have a drink of that good water. And these guys are thinking, wow, we could do that. You actually find out ways that you can serve the king when you are with the king. And then for some of us, we go, well, wait a second. All this talk about serving and about selflessness and about how faith isn't about me. Well, wait a second. That's not what I signed up for. That's not what I signed up for. Listen, Christians are those that are submitted to King Jesus. So you think that you just believed, but belief always results in submission. So if you said that you believed, you're no longer in charge. You don't get to set the agenda. You do spend your money different. You do spend your time different. You do relationships different. You do forgive when people wrong you. You're different because you submitted when you believed his way is best. I believe that. Then I submit to his rule. There is no salvation that does not result in you submitting to the Lord Jesus Christ. Like for a lot of people, I get it. They don't realize this. Christ is not this dude's last name. Y'all know that, right? It's a title. It's Messiah. It's the anointed one. And the anointed one, we've done 43 weeks. You know who the anointed one is. The king. The king is the one that gets anointed. And so when you say Jesus the Christ, that's my guy, you're saying I submit to his kingdom and his rule. I didn't just start believing something, I started submitting to something, which is why it's transformative. And if your faith is yet to be transformative, where other people matter more than you might not have submitted. You might have intellectual assent to the fact that Jesus is the Christ, but it has not yet taken root in your heart that he is the Christ. And that's 18 inches that matter a whole lot. That's 18 inches that matters for your eternity. That if it hasn't got down in here, it hasn't taken root yet. So we submit to his desires. And so we begin to realize this whole like following Jesus thing, it might be costly more than comfortable. Which makes sense because Jesus says, if any of you wants to be my follower, you have to pick up your cross, reject your own way, and follow me. It was never meant to be comfortable. It was meant to be costly. Because Christianity is not comfortable. It is a pick up your cross faith because your king picked up his cross for you. That's how it should result. And so these men hear David talking about this good water. And here's what we read in verse 16. So just three guys, broke through the Philistine lines, drew some water from the well by the gate in Bethlehem, and brought it back to David. What's that? 3 guys took on a whole garrison of Philistines just for that good water. I'm going to be honest, if these 3 guys had ran their plan by anyone else, somebody rational would have been like, I don't think that that's worth it. Just for a cup of water, you're going to go fight the Philistines? Just 3 of you against a whole garrison? Are you serious? Any rational person would look at that and go, no, you can't do that. That's crazy. But listen, picking up your cross to follow your king is definitely going to make you look crazy. In fact, this is what God does over and over again in the scriptures, is it's the most faithful people are the craziest people. Right? Think about this. Have you ever thought about the story of Noah and not the Sunday school version of it? Noah exists in a time period where people didn't know about God like what we know about God. So in essence, this dude starts building a really, really big and inconvenient boat. And in fact, just think, where did he get all that wood from? He's just chopping people's trees down. He's just all this wood. His neighbors are thinking, what the heck is this guy doing? We don't even, what's he going to do with this boat? And he keeps going, don't worry, the voice in my head told me it's going to rain one day. We're like, hold on, honey, grab the kids. We got to move away. This guy's crazy. And Noah looked like the craziest person in the ancient Near East until that first drop of rain began. Because God, it always looks crazy. Right? Can you imagine Abraham waiting all these years for a son? Finally gets his son, and God goes, take Isaac up on Mount Moriah and sacrifice him. What? So that morning, Abe's loading the donkey down. He's got the wood. He's got his knife. He's got fire. And they take off, and everybody's going, I think they're forgetting something. There's supposed to be an animal. Who's going to be this? What's the sacrifice going to be? He just takes off. You know the craziest thing in the Old Testament, one of the craziest things in the Old Testament to me, he has servants with him, and he takes Isaac, knowing that God has called him to go to the top of this mountain and sacrifice this. He looks at that servant and he says, we'll be back. That's right. That's crazy. Because he knew what he was supposed to do, and yet they both came. It was crazy till they both came back. Gideon has this big old army to go fight the enemy. God goes, sorry, you have too many people. Whittles Gideon's army down to 300 people to take on thousands. People are going, Gideon, I don't think you know how this thing works. There's strength in numbers. You look crazy. He did look crazy until he won. Right? The people that are faithful to God most often look crazy, and yet, let's be honest, from like middle school on, most of us live our lives to not look crazy. Most of us, we just want to fit in. We want to be like everybody else. We don't want to stick out. We don't want to be any different. We're just trying to fit in. Like, I am blessed as the pastor of this church with the amount of families that I see fostering kids in this church now. Because you know what? To a lot of people, that looks crazy. You know what I see? I think it looks like picking up your cross. Yeah. I think about young people that have decided we're going to do relationships God's way. I know everybody else is kicking the tires before they buy the car because all that. He goes, no, we're going to do it God's way. We're going to stay pure because we believe that's where God's blessing resides. I and blessed by that, even though to everyone else, they go, wait a second, y'all aren't sleeping together? You're not living together? Isn't it cheaper to save on rent and all that? Yeah, but we want to do it God's way. My word, that looks crazy. That looks absurd. Honestly, there's a lot of people, if you saw what people in this church were giving above and beyond, you would think, are they crazy? Are they crazy? Generous? Did you know that there's been people here? Just stay with me. Space maker, right? Did you know that there's been people here since 7:30 this morning to make sure that everything that has happened is happening? Even though a lot of us are only here an hour a weekend because we think it's all about us and not what we can give. Church is not about what you can get out of it. It is about what you can give. But that looks crazy. Like, these people have worked all week long. Most of them came to night of worship Friday night. And then we're back here Sunday morning and people go, listen, that's crazy. It is. But it's amazing to live in the blessing of God. Could you imagine being the only person at work when everyone else is doing whatever and you decide, I'm going to stand for what's right? That's going to look crazy. Could you imagine being the one family that decides, you know what, we're not actually going to say yes to everything everybody else says yes to, just because there's an expectation that we should be involved in all these different sports teams and extracurriculars, and that we need to show up at every birthday party and every dinner and everything else. We run ourselves ragged so we have no time to serve our King. And we're going to be a family that says no. And to other people, they'll go, your kids are going to miss out. I'd rather my kids miss out on y'all's kids' birthdays than on eternity with Jesus. Pick what's going to hurt. You know what I think is crazy is that we've got 3 people here at this church that have decided for a season to go to school, to intern, and to try to make ends meet on their own because they feel God's call on their life. And so they go through the trellis program. You know what, to everyone else, that looks crazy. But all of that, to me, looks like picking up your cross and following Jesus because it's never been comfortable. It's always been costly. These 3 men that go and fight Philistines just for a cup of water, listen, here's what they knew that we have to learn. If we're serious about this thing, this is what we have to learn. Serving the King is greater than building your own kingdom. There's I know we don't clap because it hurts. But we're too busy worrying about, well, I got to make sure that this is taken care of. I got to get this, and I'm trying to move up the ladder. I want to be a big deal. I want to have all this, and I want my house to be bigger, my car to be nicer. We're so busy building our own kingdom. There's no margin to serve the King. And you will realize that serving the King will always be greater. Because when you serve the King, you're building a kingdom that will not crumble. And I promise you, your kingdom one day is coming crashing down. It will not last, but the kingdom of God is here to stay. So if you're investing in your kingdom, you're making a bad choice. You're making a bad investment. Because his kingdom is not going anywhere. But yours will one day come to an end. Listen, these men could have done anything, and they decided, I'm going to serve the King and risk my life. It's costly. It reminds me of like these modern notions right now that maybe you're not brave enough to say it, but you think it at the very least. And it's this modern version of Christianity that goes, Jesus, I believe, I believe. But I'm just so busy. Oh, Jesus, I believe, but I just want things to stay the same. Like, I just want my old life just sprinkled with a little bit of Jesus so I sleep better at night. Like, Jesus, I believe, I do, Jesus, I believe, but I don't want my kids to miss out. What if they don't make the all-star team? What if they don't get a scholarship? You don't think God's bigger than that? Jesus, I believe this will hit hard. I've always voted that way. You know what blows my mind is the amount of people who this area of your life is still untouched. You've been following Jesus for years. There's not one part of the way that you saw the world before Jesus, politically and socially speaking, that has shifted whatsoever. If that's you, you're still in charge. Because whether you're on the right or the left, there should have been some shifts. There should have been some changes. You go, oh, no. So my grandpa voted this, so my dad voted this. This is how I see things. And then you'll try to twist the scriptures into your political views instead of bowing your knee to the king and seeing things his way. Oh, I believe, I believe, I promise I believe. But I don't want to lose friends. If I start taking this Christianity thing too serious, they're going to start talking. They're going to stop inviting me. That's all right. I do believe, but I just don't want to look weird. I don't want people to think I'm weird. Jesus was despised and rejected. Why wouldn't you look weird? We're called in the New Testament to be a peculiar people, and yet our whole MO is, how do I fit in? How do I fit in instead of how do I stand out? Oh, I believe Jesus, but I'm so young. So I'll take it serious later. I'll do like some church stuff now, but I'll take it really serious later. Why not right now? Jesus, I believe, I'm just not ready for all that commitment. Jesus, I believe, but listen, Jesus, my finances are none of your business. If you've divorced your checkbook from your faith, there is a major foundational issue. Because where you spend your time, where you spend your money, are two of the most true things about you. Whether you like to admit it or not, those things say everything that there needs to be about you. Where you spend your time, where you spend your money. Jesus, I believe, but I've just always believed in this very specific way. You go, I don't know. Everything I see says that we shouldn't be this comfortable. It's like we want the benefits of the cross without ever carrying one. We want forgiveness and salvation, all these things that come because of the cross, but we don't want to pick up our cross, sacrifice, die to ourselves, so that way we can really begin to follow. Now here's where the story gets a little crazy. So these guys, they break through the Philistine garrison, they get that cup of water, they come back to the cave. Listen to what it says. As they bring it back, David refused to drink it. Instead, he poured it out as an offering to the Lord. The Lord forbid that I should drink this, he exclaimed. The water is as precious as the blood of these men who risked their lives to bring it to me. So David did not drink it. These are examples of the exploits of the three. Listen, yeah, you read that right. These guys risked their lives to get him some of that good water. And he took it and he poured it on the ground right in front of them. You know, I would be all kinds of fired up. Excuse me? You're going to drink that water, right? He just pours it on the ground. But listen, there's such a powerful lesson in this. There's such a powerful lesson, and that's this. That when you decide, if you've decided, you know what, I'm sick of playing games, I'm all in. When you give your life in service of the King, you don't get to choose with what he does with what you bring to him. You know, when you place your life in his hands, you don't get to choose how he uses you. You don't get to choose how he leads, how he guides, how he directs. When you bring it to him, it's in his hands, and he will do with it whatever he sees fit. You have now taken your hands off of it. You are not in charge of the outcome. You are simply responsible for the act of obedience, of giving yourself. This is what Paul is talking about. He says, offer yourself as a living sacrifice. This is your true and proper act of worship. We think worship for most of us only ever consists of singing. Worship is actually offering your whole self, no strings attached, in service of the King. That's true worship. What you do in service of the King is your true act of worship. And I get it. Some of us, we go, whoa, wait a second. This is not what I signed up for. I just wanted to come to church so my kids would be raised with some morals. I just didn't want them to be little hellions, trying to teach them right and wrong. I'm not all about this like going all in thing. I just was trying to make sure that my kids, acted right when they got older. Or like I just wanted to play, I'm just trying to find it, whatever it is, this isn't what I signed up for. And I go, listen, this is the only offer. Pick up your cross and follow Jesus no matter what it costs you. That's the call. Look what he says in Matthew 16:25. He says that if you try to hang on to your life, you try to do this like nothing about my old life is different, I just sprinkled some Jesus in every once in a while. He says, if you try to hold on to your life, try to hold on to the old you, the old way we did relationships and money and how we spent our time and parenting, the old way, hold on to that, he says, and you will lose your life. But if you will let go of all of it for his sake, then you will finally find your life. You will find life as it was meant to be lived. God is not calling you to sacrifice because he's angry or frustrated. He's calling you to this life of service and sacrifice because it's actually what's best for you. Because he loves you. He's only asking you to do what he himself has already done. Right? Do you see the picture of Jesus in this story? 3 men go and fight the enemy to bring back some water. Except for Jesus' story is better. Jesus goes and fights the enemy of sin and death. He doesn't send somebody else, he goes himself to fight the enemy so the way you could experience rivers of living water flowing from him that will eternally satisfy you, that will meet every need in your life, that will meet every desire, every want, everything that you think that you're going to be missing out on by letting go and letting God have all of you. Rivers of living water. He says that if you will drink that water, you will never thirst again. That's the good water. That's the best water. You know what's amazing? Jesus is that living water, and he also was from Bethlehem. He is the living water from Bethlehem that satisfies your soul. And so if Jesus gave himself for you, the only thing that makes sense is that you would fully give yourself for him. We've always said it this way, salvation is free. You can't earn it. You can't be good enough for it. You can't check enough boxes. You can't buy it with a check. It's free. But true salvation will cost you everything. It will cost you ungripping your hands and letting the King be in charge. If you're in here today and you realize, I haven't done that yet. Maybe I started going to church, maybe I've started to read the Bible a little bit, but I haven't actually just let go and said, God, you're actually in charge. Lead my family, lead our finances, lead how we make decisions, lead how we treat each other, lead how we forgive one another, lead every aspect of our lives. If you have not ungripped your hands in that way this morning, Jesus has done everything necessary for you to be forgiven of your sins and made into a new creation. You simply lay hold of that by believing And if you really believe, then you will submit. We're going to have people along the front that would love to pray for you if you need someone to pray with. Our altars are open. The prayer room is open. If you're online, send us a message. We would love to pray with you. But let's just have a moment where we just push everything into the middle and we go, I'm tired of holding back. I'm tired of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I want to start picking up my cross, dying to myself so I can follow my King. Father, in the name of Jesus, would you come and speak to us? Speak to us about where we're at. Help us to have a self-awareness that comes from your Spirit that says, listen, this is for you. It's not for the person next to you. It's for you. And Lord, if there's things that we need to let go of, areas that need a deeper surrender, let today be the day that we say yes. And we let you have your way. In Jesus' name.